Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Movie Minutes. Before I dive into War for Planet of the Apes, I want to talk about something really quick that kind of pisses me off, actually. And it's when movie studios put out misleading marketing campaigns, they are trying to get you to come to the theater to spend your money to see a particular movie. And they do that by saying, hey, this is a little taste of what you're going to get. This is what you can expect. Now, when expectations are kind of maneuvered during a movie, that's fine. But when you rely so heavily on something that to get people into a seat for a movie that isn't part of that movie, that's lying. And that is bad. That is false advertising. That I do not condone. I think that's dirty. That's playing dirty. Now, with regards to War for Planet of the Apes, this is despite the heavy marketing campaign, like posters like this, and Entertainment Weekly pictures like this, and trailers like this.
I did not start this war.
You're telling me that your movie is a war movie, and War for Planet of the Apes is not a war movie. I mean, you look at this poster, and it's just a massive army of humans facing off against a massive army of apes. And there's nothing in this movie, no scene that remotely resembles this. That's a problem to me. And I think it affected my enjoyment of the movie. Not a huge bunch, because, as I'll get to it in a minute, this movie is actually very good. But it's not the epic war movie 20th Century Fox is selling it as. And I'm bringing this up because I think the best way to enjoy this movie is to go in and not expect a big epic war movie. Just pretty much just blot the marketing campaign for this movie from your mind, go in, enjoy it, and then walk out. And hopefully you'll like it a little more than I did. Now let's get into the actual movie. There's a lot to unpack here. This trilogy has kind of been one of, if not the best trilogy of the 21st century, at least up to now. And Andy Serkis is a huge part of that. Obviously, he is Caesar. And this trilogy, he is the focus. It is his story. You go with him from Rise to Dawn and now to War. And you see just how complex a character he becomes. I was fortunate enough to see this as a part of a triple feature on the big screen. And I remember really liking those movies. I forgot just how great they are and how much they hold up. And Caesar's adventure, or his journey emotionally through those movies, is really compelling. And I think it's one of the best character arcs that I've seen in movies probably ever. Him starting off as a baby ape, running around James Franco's house up in the attic, to really coming into himself as a man ape and finding and putting the responsibility of apes as a species and their well-being on his shoulders, and kind of bearing that responsibility through the later half of Rise all the way through Dawn, even though it puts him at odds with one of his oldest friends, Koba, in the second one. Now, Koba, he is a very strong villain in the second movie, and that is a lot because he has a relationship with Caesar, and these characters are just, it's not just Caesar who is being developed throughout these movies. It is other characters. It is the villains. And Woody Harrelson in War for Planet of the Apes, I think Woody gives a good performance. Obviously, he's Woody Harrelson. But I don't think that as a villain, he's given a whole lot to do. He likes to monologue a lot, and he's very good at those. And we do get an interesting backstory with him that makes him stand out from any standard obligatory villain, like something from a Transformers. But unfortunately, he's not as compelling a foil for Caesar as someone, say, Koba. Now, I said this isn't a war movie. Despite that, there are the action in this movie is really good. And the first 10 or 15 minutes or so of this movie, where the military that was called at the end of Dawn, apparently they've been looking for Caesar and his apes for a couple of years now. And now they've come upon him, and that's where this movie starts. And it's apes actually fighting people like you would see in the marketing campaign. But it's really relegated to about that. That's probably the biggest war scene in the movie. It doesn't last that long, but it is very good, and it's a very strong way to start out this film. But of course, these movies, as I've said, they're not about the action. They are about the characters, and we meet some really interesting characters in this one. One of them, Steve Zahn's Bad Ape, who you may have seen in the trailers. He's the one who kind of looks like a Gollum ape. He is the source of the comedic relief in this film, and he's very funny. I think War is actually, it's the funniest, but simultaneously it's the darkest. It's not a comedy by any means, but Bad Ape gets a lot of laugh out loud belly laughs, and that was something that wasn't really there with the first two films. Of course, they have their beats, but in War you got more of them more consistently, and I guess that's good because I just think thematically, the way it kind of rounds out the trilogy, it's the darkest, and it kind of needs the most laughs out of all of these Apes movies, if that makes sense. Aside from the false marketing, I think another thing that disappointed me about this movie was the fact that there are a few moments in this movie that don't really play as well as they could. They don't really pull out the meat of the emotion in certain sequences. I don't want to spoil it for you, but there is a particular shot in one of the trailers that I just absolutely adored, and it kind of just got to me. And that shot and its emotional context, it's not in the film, it's portrayed differently. And so I felt like, especially this being such an important moment to the character of Caesar, I felt like it should have impacted me more, and it didn't. So I was a little let down by that, and that happens earlier on in the movie. And so the rest of the film, I was kind of disappointed by that. And then in the second act, it gets kind of slow, and it starts, especially in the feature. I think watching this as a triple feature is probably the best and probably not so good thing for War for Planet of the Apes, because it's definitely, I don't think it's a standalone. I don't think you could pop this in and watch it having not seen Dawn or Rise. I think it's definitely part of the overall arc, and you need to watch the other two to really get the most out of this film. But at the same time, the second act, when they're in prison, it felt a lot like Rise, where they're just escaping, except it took longer than Rise. And after just a couple hours after having seen Rise, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we've been here, we get it. They're in prison again, they're escaping. I kind of wanted to see something new, and unfortunately, we didn't really get that. This is definitely a prison escape movie, but there was already a little bit of prison escape in Rise. But overall, guys, the acting in this performances are top notch. We'll see about Caesar. We'll see about Andy Serkis getting an Oscar nod. It probably won't happen, at least for this movie. And the way that this film, like the previous two, contemplates humanity through apes, it really gets you thinking. And then those performances kind of just pull you more into the world. And then, of course, the ending of the movie, I thought it tied things up well, near perfect. I wish in the second act, the story hadn't felt so repetitive, and that it had gone down a different path, but it's still one of the best movies of the summer. Definitely up there in terms of one of the best films of the year. I give War for Planet of the Apes an A-. You should go check it out, but make sure you freshen up on your Rise and your Dawn. Alright guys, that's going to do it for my blowout on War for Planet of the Apes / review. If you like this video, go ahead and click the thumbs up for me. Subscribe, I have plenty other reviews. I do trailer reactions, I do Blu-ray unboxings. I also have a movie blog, Movie Minutes, on WordPress. The link is in the description, as well as the Movie Minutes social media accounts. You can follow them there. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching.